Well, hello, everybody. This is Cindy Walter, your healthy knitter, with one of her absolute best friends in the whole wide world, Susan Wheeler.
I I love that.
Do you remember making
What
this for me?
what a beautiful shawl.
How did you make this?
It was crochet.
And then I dug this out of the archives too. I might die of heat, so I can't keep it on, but I loved this one with the pom-poms.
I wish,
Look at
don't
that.
you love it?
I do.
But you didn't make this for me. I made it for myself.
No,
Mm,
no,
Look
no.
at you.
Do have a really fun thing to show and share with you, but let's just start the podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. And if you're new, I am on episode 5 of The Healthy Knitter. Really just trying this out. I'm not a professional podcaster by any stretch of the word, and I'm not a professional knitter, but I found my love of knitting when I was 21. And as a health and wellness coach, one of the things Susan and I work together also on top of sharing everything else together. And one of the things I love about knitting is it really does de-stress me. I'm a high stress type A personality. And when I have my knitting needles in my hands, I'm just calm. It's like going to the yoga studio or going to the spa. And I just saw a buggy go by. Did you see that?
I did, yes. Yeah.
And I love knitting for that. And so I want to bring my love of health and wellness and knitting all together in one beautiful package and bring guests to you that have touched my life in the knitting world. Katie was my first guest and Susan is my second. Katie, my daughter. So if you missed that one, check that out. She did some yoga exercises if your hands ever get sore with knitting. And Susan is going to bring the laughter and the humor, I'm sure, today. Welcome.
For having me. This is fun.
Well, what I want to show you is so my birthday was in July, and Susan sent me a gift card
And I
to,
haven't seen it.
I know, to the Woolly Thistle, and I'll tag them in the show notes. But they're in New Hampshire, and when Scott, I'm from Connecticut, so is Susan. And when Scott and I first got married, we lived in New Hampshire for a couple of years, and this place wasn't in existence then, but I got online and I ordered a pattern and yarn for the vanilla sweater, and it came in this adorable bag. Can you read it? Is it the right way?
Oh, all knitting is good knitting.
Yep, and
Yes.
that's their logo. So this is now one of my whip bags, works in progress bags. And
That's really, let me see this. Let me see the logo again. It looks like a ball of yarn. What a cute
isn't
logo.
that adorable? And I've been
Yeah.
following them and I'd love to get to the store one day, but I finished the project with the yarn that you bought me. This is your sweater that you bought me.
Oh, good.
Isn't it
Beautiful.
beautiful?
Look at the sleeves.
It's very like I did that cable sweater that was so intense. And so I really wanted a vanilla sweater, something a little easier. So it's just a basic raglan. You can kind of see the pattern on both sides and it's in the back too. Very, very basic sweater. It's 3/4 sleeves, but they did black out a little longer, so they're just a slightly bit short. I love it. And it's
But
wool.
it looks like they're flared.
They're a little bit flared. Yeah, yeah. It's just super stylish and cute with jeans. I'm bringing it on my trip to England.
Oh, that would be great with a turtleneck underneath it or just a t-shirt or something.
But that was a great
Nice.
gift. And I wanted to bring it up, not one to thank you in front of my millions of fans that are watching this, recording,
There are millions for sure,
but
right?
two, because what a great gift to give someone that is into crafting, giving them a gift card that they can then make something out of. So I love that. And I love that we share our love of knitting. So will you share with everybody? I know you are the person I go to when I struggle on a pattern because I can't visualize it. You really are gifted at visualizing things and you've helped me so many times, but who taught you how to knit? What's your knitting story?
Honestly, I learned to knit because my mother was a knitter. And so of course, this was 100 years ago, and she had a knitting bag, and I would get into her knitting bag, and she would let me have like a scrap ball of yarn. My mother made socks. I mean, my mother knit the tiniest. She didn't knit big, bulky sort of things like we knit, more like a big, I know she's knit sweaters, but she loves to knit socks. Is that your
That's great.
latest pair?
The socks, and it's a little tiny 9-inch needle with little tiny thread. And I'm like, this might take me a million years to make one sock.
Yeah.
That's what she
But
thinks.
that's a great thing to knit when you're traveling because you don't have this big all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I would rather take maybe a pair of mittens, pair of socks, and just work on that when you're traveling. But yeah, so she taught me how to knit, and she was left-handed, so it was hard for her to teach me. So I got the concept. I basically had to teach myself. My mother was not a patient woman. She was very talented.
With
But
or
she
without
wasn't
cussing? Was there cussing involved while she taught you?
young, so she probably wasn't testing then. If she taught
Right.
me to knit when I was like 20, she would have definitely dropped some F-bombs.
Mm.
Are those buggies going by or
I think
bike?
those are e-bikes. A lot of the Amish now have e-bikes that go by.
I know I'm distracted, but
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
I When I go to your house, one of my favorite things to do is watch the buggies go by.
Yeah.
It'll never get old. It's been 20 something years and I'm still
It doesn't
like,
get old
is
for
that a
me.
buggy?
I love it. And I love when I'm on a Zoom and it goes by and people are like, did I just see a buggy go
Was
by?
that I
Yeah.
know it's a little glaring, but I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so I learned to knit and I really did a terrible job. I was not good. Most people I don't think are good when they start, everything's tight and you're making I didn't even really make anything. I was just knitting to just sort of learn, I guess. But then when I really learned to knit, my brother's wife was she is an amazing knitter. She knits Icelandic sweaters and with wool, and they're just so beautiful. And she does it just like a breeze, like doesn't even think about it. Whips them up. She could probably knit a sweater in 3 or 4 days or a week, whatever. She's a flight attendant, so there's a lot of idle time and hotel time and whatnot. So when I was 34, I had a really bad accident and I was in the hospital for a long time. I was in a nursing home and then I was home and it was all through a winter and um, I was depressed and I couldn't do anything. My hands were fine, but my body wasn't working. And she said, I'm going to teach you how to knit one of these sweaters. So, we got the yarn and I just became addicted and really loved what I loved is then because for the first time I started like making things.
Hmm.
I wasn't just sort of so I will love to knit a scarf, but if I do knit a scarf, it's gonna be something a little more fun,
Hmm.
you know, than just like
Hmm.
that one.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
pom poms on it, and
Yeah, it's just fun. It's a great accessory. So, yeah, and this actually, I would love for, I would send a picture of this to you and have you get your knitting people to tell me what the pattern is. This
um,
is a great pattern. You can't really see it here, but it is a great pattern. And this is just two rectangular panels sewn together. I wear this all the time. But go ahead. You want to tell a funny story about me?
well, we always tell funny stories on each other, and so I did not know that's when you started to knit, though. So I'm glad I got to ask you that story. So, Susan and I have partnered together in business for 22 years, I think, almost now. So we're both health and wellness coaches now, but prior to that, we were in a direct sales company, and we both have a love of running, and we ran marathons, and so we couldn't train together. We live in different states, but we would come together and run marathons together. So we'd train on our own and come together. And one marathon we ran in January in Orlando, we bought matching. There was a bunch of us from our company. We had matching tank tops and shorts. So excited to run this marathon. And then we start getting the weather reports that it's going to be freezing cold. And people had to buy
Freezing.
winter coats, and we were putting socks on our hands. And obviously, no one saw our matching outfits that we bought. And we run this marathon, and that you had another accident, and you were recovering from a biking accident this time, and weren't even sure you'd be able to complete the marathon. So I remember we were putting pain gel on you through that marathon, and we finished it. And we won't talk about all the other incidents that happened during that marathon, but
I'll bring those up.
it did warm up a bit. And our recovery was we were bound and determined to get some sun on this trip. So we brought bathing suits and we sat by the pool in our bathing suits knitting because it wasn't really warm enough to sunbathe or swim, but it wasn't freezing. So it was just kind of perfect. So we had laughed over that so many times over the years. But through that, then we would sometimes knit together. And I remember once I can't, you were here for a visit and I bought yarn and we made blankets together. That was fun. I've got mine sitting right back here, actually.
Oh, I should have brought mine. It's upstairs. You'd have to pause.
I
So
know.
just imagine that exact one with fall colors.
Yeah. And I love this.
'Cause
I can't even remember the pattern, but I remember it worked up really, really quick, and we were pretty excited about that. So that's just been fun. One more thing for us to have in common that we do together. And like I said, I've continued to knit. Your knitting story has kind of stalled a bit. I'd love to, maybe this will motivate you to get back into it with me. But my story is that I learned how to knit with Icelandic sweaters. So I had crocheted first. I made one blanket, a shell blanket for everybody I know. And then I had girlfriends when I moved to New Hampshire that we all made an Icelandic sweater together. And I'll bring that on a podcast soon and show you that one. But I made Icelandic sweaters, and that's really all I knew how to do for years. And so when I met Susan and I was telling her and I showed her mine, she's like, I've made them too. And just a few years ago, how long ago was that?
I was probably maybe, I'm not sure, 8 years ago, maybe.
Okay, so she has started to over the years, we have a lot in common and then we have a few things not in common. And the one thing not in common is she can just part with things very easily, like see you later. And she parted with all of her beautiful sweaters that she had knit and made. And had my kids known that, my kids go to thrift stores for that kind of stuff. They would have paid her for these sweaters. How many did you get rid of?
Probably more than a dozen.
Oh, oh, that pains me.
I know.
Do you have any regrets or are you good with it?
No, I really don't. And I will tell you this. Every year I would, take my winter clothes out and put my summer clothes away, back and forth. And I just wasn't wearing them. You can't, they're so warm. And I will tell you, I cannot stand the cold, but we have a wood stove and I keep my house, um, at a lower temperature, but the wood stove, so it's always warm in our house. So I couldn't really wear it inside. And then I couldn't wear it outside.
This one is a thin wool. I bet you could do this. Your birthday's coming up. Maybe
Yes,
I'll copy your gift and give you a gift card back.
yes,
Huh?
we did.
That's the whole purpose of having you on this. I want to re-inspire and reignite you.
I just thought of something funny too. So that shawl that you're wearing, I crocheted it. And I actually went to a knitting store and took a class and did that in a class. You know that?
A crocheting class?
Yeah.
Okay, you said knitting.
Well, it was a knitting store, but it
Okay,
was a crocheting class.
okay.
And I went and learned to do that because I wasn't, but when I remember, so I had to be probably 12 or 13. Um, I knit something for my dad, and it was an Afghan. And so, the granny squares? Okay. So, they're beautiful. And I've seen some really beautiful crocheted granny square, and they're all different, and it's just beautiful. And then, okay. However, I didn't have a great teacher, and my mom wasn't a crocheter. So I made him a giant, full size, but I just kept going around and around and around. So it was one giant granny square. And I remember he loved it because he was just, but if you do it the right way, it actually, the other way is just a lot of holes.
Mm.
And very stretchy and whatever. I can still see the yarn. Yeah, but I it's just funny. So I used to crochet as well, but I don't so much anymore.
So I do, one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is to give people that maybe don't knit something that they can do to
A
de-stress.
little lesson.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that someday. I can teach, you know what I think is a really cool thing to teach is cabling. I think that my cable sweater is one of the things I'm most proud of. I love my Icelandic, color work patterns. Those are beautiful. And I'm kind of wanting to do something like that soon. But that cable sweater, I can't wait to wear it. It's just too warm right now. It's just starting to cool off here. But I thought this would be perfect today. But now I lost my train of thought.
You were saying you're proud of the cable sweater.
Oh, but it
Um,
it looks way harder than it is. It's not that difficult. So that might be a good lesson. I can teach people how to do that because I've shown a couple people. Val just made an ear warmer and she did it all.
Cable.
One of her first projects and it's a cable and it's came out beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm making socks now. I'm so excited. So, yeah, so you gave your sweaters away. It's funny. I have come in now that I've been like looking on YouTube and seeing all these knitters and crocheters. There are people that go to thrift stores to find sweaters like you gifted away, and they take all the yarn out, wash it, and remake sweaters out of it, and they sell the sweaters, or they'll make them as for themselves or for gifts. I can't imagine doing that. I don't think I'd have the patience for that, but
Mm.
there's a whole.
But then it kind of defeats the purpose, right? I gave those warm sweaters to someone who needed it,
Mhm,
right? I
mhm.
did take pictures of everyone. I'll have to look back in my camera roll and see if I have them.
I'd love to
But
see that. I'd love to see that. So
mm,
what other outlets do you have for reducing your stress?
it doesn't involve knitting.
Flowers?
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so I love to, yeah, we have beautiful flower gardens. We have so many flowers. You've seen all the picture. It's
Gorgeous.
insane.
Gorgeous.
So I love that. And I really love to spend time with my animals.
Yep.
So we recently have baby goats, and they are the sweetest things. I had to run. I haven't even been out to see them this morning, but I know. Well, I had an early appointment, ran out the door, came in to do this, and I figured it's raining today. See how nice and smooth my hair looks
Don't go
as
out in the
soon as I go outside. So I figured I'd wait, and so the goats, I will let them know that they were second today because you were first. And so anyway, but I just love animals.
yeah.
I love animals. And you know what I learned when I was getting these goats that there's a certain kind of goat, not my goats. My goats are dairy goats, but their hair is mohair.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
Didn't know that.
I
So when
know.
I got these goats, she has a different breed, and I can't think of what they are, but what's that?
They're sheep, but maybe you can get me goats for next year's birthday gift.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so it was very interesting to learn that. And the gal, he actually combs them out and has this big wad of fur, and she spins it and makes yarn, and it's
Amazing.
incredible. It's
Amazing.
incredible.
Katie has gone to a sheep farm in England where they do that, and she actually got to shear a sheep. And I'm so excited because I'm going to be knitting with her in person in less than a week. And I'm so excited about that. And this morning I woke up at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep on steroids, and they have me on a steroid, which actually I finished yesterday, so no more today. And so I was up knitting, FaceTiming with Katie at 4 a.m. this morning. So
Oh, because it's like 10 o'clock for her.
so we just
Yeah.
FaceTime and knit together, and it's just so much fun. But I would just, love any other knitting stories or anything else that you want to share as knitting being one of, I think it's important for people to have an outlet. And for some it might be pets, for some it might be cooking, for some it might be reading. But I think that there are so many wonderful things that you can do to de-stress. And that's one of the reasons I've fallen so in love with knitting is because I love making things and I love gifting things. And so I love receiving gifts. Handmade gifts are, you painted a picture for me once that's hanging downstairs, the lake picture. And I think people more and more value homemade gifts. And I love to make cards and make my own wrapping paper during the holidays. I know you're an avid baker. You had a bake shop for all those years. I think people more and more need outlets like that, doing things that they love to do to really help minimize stress because I mean, you just turn on the TV and you're a complete stress ball right now.
Mm. And you know, the best way to eliminate stress completely, especially when you're knitting, and your knitting projects probably don't come out as good, but a little glass of wine. Remember the sock?
The socks. Oh, was I drinking wine when I did that?
Probably. I can't imagine how else they
Yeah,
came out that
when we
way.
do part two of this, we'll bring a glass of wine. We'll bring a.
Okay.
I actually thought about
Yes.
it. We're filming this in the morning, and yeah, I'm doing an adaptogen drink right now. Yeah,
I have hydration in here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have to
Yeah.
stay
So, but the
healthy and
wine,
hydrated.
the wine and the knitting of the sock. And, um, did you do a video about your hat?
I did do the hat, but I have not
Okay.
talked about the socks. If you'd like to sell me down the river, is that the saying? Sell me.
We're having fun together because I really, I'm going to say this as well. We were talking about this last night on our call about um, being at this certain age. Not that we're old, but we're not. We're willing to laugh at ourselves. We're willing to say, "I made a mistake," and not beat ourselves up over it or feel bad. We just laugh at it. And you're probably one of my favorite people on the planet that I can do that with
Me too.
because we have had more laughs about things we've sort of messed up, not the end of the world things, but something that, right? And you feel bad, and then somebody's laughing, and then you're just hysterically laughing about it. I think that's another great stress relief is laughing. So
Oh,
if you can make a mistake and then laugh about it,
yeah.
that is awesome.
I did get comments about that hat video too, and so I do want to do that. So go ahead and tell the sock story.
Well, I think it's important because also, um, we just get better at anything at all as we go along, right?
Yeah.
So we're just getting better and better. Like, if someone came here for the very first time and said, "Oh my gosh, look at this lovely sweater that Cindy just knit, and it's so beautiful and perfect," and your knitting was not always like that. Mine either. Like to be fair, but you hated to rip something out. You did, right?
It's called frogging. I didn't know there was a name to it.
Or what?
Frogging.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't
Okay.
either. I didn't either.
And what does that mean? Just
Taking something
ripping.
out. So it just means like if you've made a mistake. I just frogged a vest. I had made a vest and it looked like it would have fit a Barbie doll. And so I
Mhm.
had to frog it, take all the yarn out and rewind it. And I'm going to have to start it all over again.
Well, back in the day when we were knitting together, and maybe the wine had something to do with it, I don't know. But if I made a mistake, I couldn't handle it. Like, and I had to fix it, even if, because I knew it was there. And you would say like, oh, you would never do that now. You would
No.
never do that now. Yes, you've graduated to a different place. But and the things you were making, it's not like you would make a sweater with a big mistake that you would see and that you'd say, oh, that's fine. It would be more like a blanket or something that wasn't as technical. And but you wouldn't want to go back. You would look at how far you've come and you would say, oh no, I'm not going
One will
back.
ever see
But
that.
no one will ever see it. And then I can't even sleep at night. Like I'm on steroids. So I would get the biggest kick out of your mistake. And those socks, I could just die laughing about it. I really could. They were, you thought no one would notice, but the toe didn't go this way, it went this way.
I
And you were,
I crocheted my first pair of crocheted socks in this beautiful yarn, and one toe was properly done, and the other toe, one toe went this way, one toe went this way. Yeah, and it was how
God,
many years later did I finally fix those?
did you fix them?
Yeah, so when I got back into knitting locally, I found a yarn shop that popped up during COVID. Actually, I'd heard about it years later. They'd been open for several years, and I started going there and knitting in a knitting circle. And the lady that owns the place, it's called the Pin Drop Shop in Uricksville. She is just adorable, Jessica, and she said, "Bring them in if you can find that yarn, we can help you fix them." And there's this lady Robin there, they call her Queen. She has purple hair, and she's just, I think she came out of the womb knitting and crocheting, and she's just so gifted. And so they had me frog just the toe piece because that one was toe up, thank God. So I just started at the toe and unraveled it, and then I fixed the toe, and they're perfect now,
And
years
now they're
later.
comfortable and you
Now,
can put, and I'm not a fan of knit socks. I mean, they're beautiful, but I'm very funny about socks.
so I
Like
should
well, are you making me a pair for my
no,
birthday
no,
next
I
week?
don't think so. But if you'd like them,
My
I
birthday's next week. Get knitting.
I know.
No, what I was gonna say was, I love them and whatnot, but I don't know. Like I probably have 6 pairs of socks that I just rotate through constantly because I just like socks that are tight to my feet that don't come up high all year round.
Yeah,
So I just wouldn't be comfy in big socks.
yeah.
I just can't. Yeah, but I love them. You know what I'm gonna knit? You did
What?
convince me. I'm
What?
gonna start knitting. I'm gonna knit mittens. Have you ever knit mittens?
I haven't, but I want to. I want to. And that's
Okay.
actually when I'm going to Iceland, I'm going to wear the Icelandic sweater I bought there 35 years ago. That's what I'm wearing.
Wow.
We're going to go
Hmm.
snowmobiling, and we're going to go check out the yarn stores. And I thought about, like, I really don't need any more Icelandic wool sweaters. I made one for all the kids. Scott has one. I think I made a cardigan. So I have several of those. But I was thinking maybe mittens. Mittens.
Yes, mittens are fun. I'm just dying to see you knit a pair and see where the thumb will be.
So I'm not a perfect knitter,
Confusing.
people, but I'm hoping that I'll inspire you to de-stress, fall in love with knitting or a craft of any kind. I do like crocheting as well. I just did those crocheted bags, and I absolutely love that. But
Yes.
anything crafty and artsy is just such a release of, and anything truly, whatever the hobby is. I just want to encourage you to find something if you have any stress in your life and you need that. And I did get some comments on my an earlier video that a lot of people that are watching are in our age group where they're empty nesting now. Their kids are gone. For the first time in their life, they're actually doing something for themselves, spending money on themselves for their hobbies. So that's just really cool. Do you have any advice you'd like to leave people with before we stop recording today?
Yeah, I was going to say something and I can't remember what it was, but the other thing too, yes, especially knitting or whatever, what a sense of pride.
Mm,
Because when you're wearing something that you've made and someone says, wow, that's beautiful. Where did you get it? I made this. Imagine that. Isn't that cool?
is
So, yeah, it's never too late to start something new. And knitting is once you learn how to do it, I think it's It's really simple. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's,
The
yeah,
only
it's
hard
very
part is
simple.
learning to follow patterns and understand them. And I'm really, and I'm not even being like funny here. I have a hard time visualizing patterns. So like the ones, if it's top down, if it's just neck down or bottom up, I'm fine. But if it's right, right back, front back, and then you have to piece it together, I get so confused. I can't see straight. So that's where I'll take pictures of my patterns, send them to you, and then you'll be like, okay, that you're building the shoulder, so then you can explain it to me, and then I'm like, okay, I got it. But I struggle with that. So I just want you to know if you struggle with all of that, there's so many videos available. I go to YouTube and search if I don't know what a stitch is, if I don't know, if I'm not understanding a pattern, I just go to YouTube. I can find everything I need. And I'm pretty good and almost mistake free now. This is my new sweater I'm working on. Susan, the feel of this is unreal.
Oh,
It's
it looks so soft.
it is so soft. It's a raglan sweater, so you can see the shoulder shape.
Yeah,
I'm getting a
yeah.
couple more rows of increasing, and then I'll be taking the sleeves off and I'll do the body. But oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's a petite knit sweater, no frills, it's called.
Oh, I love it.
So maybe something a little lighter weight for you that's a little more basic would be, not so heavy wool and all that.
Yeah, more fun. And I will say this too, for anyone that hasn't knit before and they're starting, get out there and go to a yarn shop and find a pattern and take a little class. Because looking at that, it reminded me that you do something like that and then you're empowered to say, I could do this, right?
When you give
Yeah.
a gift that's homemade, like, I mean, I would never part with this. I mean, I don't wear it all the time, but when I do, people are like, "Oh my gosh, did you make that?" No, I got it as a gift. And then I can tell the story. People love homemade gifts. It's so fun to wear what you make. I do want to I really do want to dip my toes in sewing. I would love to learn to make some really cute trousers to go with the sweaters that I'm making. But that kind of overwhelms me and scares me. So it's like back burner, but I want to do that. But
Mm.
I'm enjoying knitting. I'm just like really thinking I've got so many projects going. I have so many whips in bags going, socks. I have two pairs of socks. I've got this sweater. Um, and I've got
Are you going
another.
to be able to carry all that on the plane
I
with
can't bring it
you?
all with me, unfortunately. No, I have
Mm.
a luggage restriction, so I can't bring it all with me. But I'll keep you posted, and don't you worry. If I have questions, I'll be in touch.
Yes,
Thank you for being my guest today. Maybe next time we'll have a glass of wine and you can have a project and we'll knit together while we talk.
absolutely.
That'd be fun.
I'll be knitting mittens.
Okay, I'll do mittens with you.
Okay,
I tried to get
deal.
you to do Christmas stockings with me a couple years ago and that failed miserably.
Yeah. Mm. I was with the goat.
That was pre-codes. That was pre-codes.
Oh,
Can't remember what your excuse was, but you had a good one.
it's probably raining or something.
Something. Well, thanks for being my second guest on episode 5.
Yay, thanks, Cindy.
And thank you for my beautiful sweater. I will treasure this.
You're welcome. You're
Yes.
welcome.
All
I
right.
love
Love
it.
you. Bye, everyone. If you have any
Bye.
questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll post whatever Susan and I chatted about and how you can follow me on my other platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.